Why is everyone quitting entrepreneurship? I think that's an interesting question because within a decade, I've seen a lot. And I often say that I was an entrepreneur before I even knew what the term meant. I started off in high school. I remember I was just a visionary, like always been that. But just as you grow into it, you understand more and more about your identity and what you're called to do, because I do believe entrepreneurship is a calling, and we'll talk about that. But even in high school, I was rallying the people up to get behind the cause because I was thinking somebody should do something about our lunch. Like, we need to figure this out. We need better lunch. And I decided I was going to get a petition started. I had people on board signing it. Now, I don't know what I was going to do. I don't know if I was going to take it to the news station or what, but I was ready. And that's just been my early childhood. That's been my life. So many instances of that same thing of being a leader, starting organizations, starting movements, and being surprised most of the time that people follow behind me, kind of like, oh, y'all down with this too? But I've been an entrepreneur for a while, just that innovator inside of me, and people have recognized it and followed suit. And so I've seen a lot of different iterations of it. As I said in a previous video, I saw it when, everybody was on the everybody needs to be an entrepreneur kick. And I was right there with them. I can't lie, because I just believed in it. Man, F these jobs and this and that, and you need your time back and, your earning potential. Well, I think two things can be true at once. Now that I look back over it, I realize everyone shouldn't be an entrepreneur. And it's not to say one is better than the other. It's not that whole notion of, everybody can't do this. And, because that kind of creates this elitist mindset amongst entrepreneurs that I've been guilty of as well. Because truth is, everybody can't be a doctor. Everybody can't be a teacher. Everybody can't be a pastor. Everybody can't be a police officer. We're called to do different things, and our passions and our giftings, they stand up in certain environments. And so there is no elitism, if I said that correctly, amongst entrepreneurs. Just a calling, just as any other thing is a calling. And so we rode that wave. And I think people started to see the success of entrepreneurs, or maybe the illusion of success of entrepreneurs. And we started to get into this thing called lifestyle marketing. Me too. Not because I necessarily wanted to, or it just easily aligned with who I was. I did it because I thought that's what you were supposed to be doing. Here's the thing. We were all in this space over a decade of figuring it out, looking to others. What are you doing? How are you doing that? What systems are you using? How do you build a brand? All of this language and slang that we have now in 2025 is still fairly new, but I believe that decade moved so fast and so swift. Not to mention, halfway through that decade, we have a worldwide pandemic. And definitely, I think that pushed a lot of people into a space that they probably shouldn't have never went into. But, you learn, you live and you learn. And that was a learning experience. But here we are now in 2025. And I'm seeing a lot of people walk away from it. So I'm going to give you my thoughts. I'm going to give you my perspective. I'm going to give you where I'm currently at in this whole whatever. Fortunate for my experience, I've had and continue to have support in regards to a business coach, personal development coach. Also, I have a therapist as well. And baby, they earn their paychecks. I'll say this. Entrepreneurship, like many other things, is hard. I will also add to this, though, it's a different hard. Not we're better than anybody else hard, but it just varies. I don't believe that a lot of people understand how much faith it actually takes to be an entrepreneur, because you're just riding the waves. You can have a really great month. You can have a really horrible month. You can have a really great quarter, and you can have a really horrible year. It's just up and down. And on top of that, if you're an African American or a first gen entrepreneur, then you're learning all this stuff firsthand. There is no mentor coming alongside of you, at least in the early days, to guide you. You're not really getting that family support in most cases, not all cases, but most cases, you're not getting that family support because you're first gen. You're doing this from the ground up, so you're learning as you go. You're learning. You're investing. You're making a lot of mistakes. It's just a lot going on, right? And so you have that. And so you also have the lifestyle marketing that's going on where people are selling you a dream. You have the people telling you to fire your boss, get your time back, and they're showing you receipts of how much they made and this and that, and they're promising a framework. And if you enroll in my program, if you enroll in this, I'm gonna teach you how to scale. I'm gonna give you the secrets. I'm gonna show you this. I'm gonna do this, and yeah, yeah. And so a lot of people have decided that this is just not the space for them. But I'm going to say something that may, I'm going to just say it. I think you can be passionate about something, but it doesn't mean that you should turn it into a business. I think there's a lot of things that we're passionate and really excited about doing. And I think when you turn some of those things into a business, you really stab yourself in the foot. I know everybody has told you turn your passion into your profit. If you love what you do, you never work another day in your life. And I think all of those things can be true. But another truth that we often run from is that when you put a price tag on something that was just fun, just a hobby, just something you enjoy doing for a little escapism, that now that thing is no longer that, because there is this pressure to perform. There's this pressure for it to be your main source of income. It's this pressure for it to grow, to scale. I'm so tired of hearing the word scale. I'm so tired of hearing about business models and lead generation and funnels and email marketing and free offers. And I'm just tired. And this is coming from a person that grew up in this, wanting this, being this. I was just talking to my business coach this morning, and I was like, I'm just in a weird space right now where nothing really excites me about business. And I can't believe that, because where I am in life is where I've always wanted to be, but I'm not excited about business. Y'all, I used to get off work, and I'll be stuck in the house on a weekend because I'm recording videos, I'm setting up this, I'm implementing an idea. I'm just excited about the next photo shoot, about branding, about all of those things. I was so excited. And I started making money from this. Now, before you celebrate, and now that I look back over it, yes, it was exciting to be making money from something that you love doing. It almost feels like you're in heaven a little bit, but it started to slowly eat away the creativity. It started to slowly eat away the joy of it. Started to slowly eat away, because everything has to be a strategic launch now. This is no shade against those who help others to strategically launch, but just everything has to be well thought out, because you got to have a 5-figure launch and a 6-figure launch, and you got to scale. There goes that word again. You got to grow. You got to have a team. You got to outsource. Yeah. And it just all got to a place where it started to literally suffocate the joy out of being an entrepreneur. Now, I think there's many reasons that people are leaving this space: the burnout, the exhaustion, and also I think just wanting to have something maybe a little bit more stable, even though stability is kind of like one of those iffy things, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, especially in this administration. But I think a lot of people just realize maybe this is not the life for me. Maybe this is not what I want to do. Maybe keeping a hobby is cool, and making a little money here and there is fine, just to supplement my income. Maybe I don't want to be a boss. Maybe I don't want to fire my boss, but I want to work for a boss. Let them take on that responsibility of managing a multi-million-dollar company. What if we started to redefine what success looks like, and also giving ourselves permission to pivot and shift and change? And I changed my mind. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do that again, or I want to pick up where I'm at in my journey with entrepreneurship is I'm deciding to scale down until my joy returns. I'm deciding not to put pressure on my business to produce a profit. I'm deciding that my YouTube is just a creative expression of what I'm experiencing in my soul. And while I'll do the things to possibly allow it to float in the algorithm, that if it's 10 views, 5 views, 800, 300, that I will practice disconnecting from the outcome, because that is the only way that I'll get my joy back. Do I still believe that I'm called to do what I'm called to do? Of course I do. But capitalism, the internet, social media started to rob me of that passion. And I don't want to participate in that game anymore. That's why I deactivated my Instagram, my Facebook, my Threads. Baby, I almost deactivated the YouTube too, because I want my life back. I want my privacy back. I don't want everything that I do in my real life to be a PR stunt, to be a lead magnet for something else. I don't want to post pictures of private, intimate moments. Not that I was doing that anyway, but you get what I'm saying. I don't want to sell my life for clicks and views. I don't want to put pressure on my business, which is actually my passion, to produce millions of dollars. Maybe it means I have to get a job. Maybe it means I have to do other things so that my passion can be that. So that when I show up in spaces and places, I'm not under this pressure to perform. I'm not under this pressure. I don't want to be a monkey in my matrix. I don't want to be a monkey in the matrix. I don't want to be that anymore. And I'm deciding, I think, as I said in a previous video, with me deactivating my accounts, that is me showing me that I'm taking my power back. I'm taking my creative control back. I'm taking my voice back. I'm refusing to use the system or allow the system to use me. I'm refusing to participate. It's like, even today when I was getting ready to record this video, I was like, oh, I gotta go cut my hair. I gotta I gotta do this. I gotta get the light. I was like, wow, why does all that matter? Because aren't people here just for my voice? Yeah, I mean, a moving head, a talking head on your screen is great, but what if they just had a voice? What if they could just listen? What if they could just connect with a voice again? What if they could put their phones down and just hear? What if that's that? And what if this doesn't grow? What if this doesn't turn into anything other than 1 view, 2 views? Will I still be grateful? There's a version of me that wished to have the influence that I have now while sitting here in this present day, not valuing it the way that I would have. Because, and I don't want to keep blaming social media, but it has a lot of influence on how we move, how we interact. The tool became the master instead of us mastering the tool. You know, you think about social media now, you can't even really trust anybody being vulnerable or crying online, because you're like, what's the product? What you selling? You know, like, and not that selling anything is bad, but it's just like, you know, and if they're not there for that, they're there for salaciousness, doing anything to get the views and the likes so that they can get the brand deals. Everything is like, it's just like we all at the place of we all just selling our souls for what? What I enjoy is community. What I enjoy is building. What I enjoy is assisting people. And somewhere in that, you start to veer away from what the real end goal is, because of capitalism, because of social media, because of culture influence. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I've mastered this thing called life and the experiences in it. But what I am saying is I will rebel against it. I will fight to be my own individual person. I will fight for what I want to do. And if I want to hop on video, I hop on video. If I want to do audio, I'll do audio. However I decide to show up, if I want to show up, I'll do it that way. And I refuse to allow this pressure to rob me of my passion. What a horrible thing it would be for me not to be who I am because of all the external circumstances that confine me to compete almost. And I think a lot of people didn't have the language or don't have the language for what I'm saying. You just want to go back to simplicity where you're not thinking about the next great launch, the next great product, the next, all this pressure. I just want to be human for a second, not an entity, not a business, not a brand. I get all of those things have significant places and they can bring you wealth and this and that. But then I have to ask, are the people who are on the other side of what we deem success, are they actually happy in what they have? Or have they just created a bigger box, a bigger cage of confinement? I don't know. I ain't got all the answers yet. If I did, I wouldn't be here. But this is just me being liberated in my thoughts and my ideas, who I am, how I want to show up, how I want to share. And it may not be for you. Maybe you need a more visual, engaging content, and that's cool. Shit, I get it. But for those who this resonates with, welcome. Subscribe, comment, like it if you want to. If you don't, no pressure at all. None of that, legit, no pressure at all. I don't care anymore. I care about just sharing what really resonates with me, and I think that matters. That matters more than anything. Sharing my truth, having a space just to do so, even if it doesn't do anything outside of existing here. And I have to be okay with that. Because what's the goal? What's the intention? And if the intention is the intention and it's pure and it's honest, I believe that it starts to work. All right. Peace.